So ESPN's Bill Barnwell said this about the Bengals front office for this offseason. They are most likely to hope their biggest problem forgets about being mad. That obviously is Trey Hendrickson being their biggest problem. So he's claiming that, that the Bengals are hoping eventually Trey just goes, all right, whatever. And just goes, you know what? I guess I'll just go out there and play. It is what it is. Kind of just accept reality. That's what he's saying the Bengals front office hopes for, which I actually think that's pretty accurate, to be honest. They hope eventually he just gives in and says, okay, I guess it is what it is. I guess I'll have to play. And accept the fact he's on the last year of his contract. And accept the fact that we all know how this is going to go. If he plays this upcoming year, he'll probably have an amazing year. In all honesty, he'll probably have another record-setting year. And then the Bengals are going to franchise tag him. Pay him $26 million on a franchise tag next year. He's going to say, I'm not playing on that franchise tag. And we're going to be in the same situation next offseason as we are right now. We're going to be sitting here and saying, I wonder if he's going to play on the franchise tag. And then if he does, we're going to franchise tag him again. And in 2 years, that will be $40 million. Then, the next offseason, we'll be in the same situation again. It's rinse, cycle, repeat, baby. Rinse, cycle, repeat. This is going to be until Trey eventually just refuses and just doesn't want to play anymore. That's pretty much how this is going to go. I'm laughing because it is that ridiculous. It really is that ridiculous. The franchise tag gives you a lot of options. Players can reject the franchise tag, but then teams can also find them. And they have to accept it by, July 25th? Every year it changes. It's like July 20th to 25th. That's their time period where you have to accept the franchise tag. He does go ahead and write, good communication is one way to resolve a crisis. The Bengals don't appear to have received the memo. Last week, Coach Zach Taylor reached out to Hendrickson via text. Instead of asking whether the star pass rusher has gone on any fun vacations or streamed any good shows recently, Taylor reminded Hendrickson of a mandatory minicamp that was upcoming, and missing those practices would result in fines. Now, I do want to talk about this real fast because I know Zach has gotten a lot of flack for this. Yes, obviously Trey has said this is why this contract situation is personal now. Because of this text situation with Zach Taylor and Trey Hendrickson. The situation, and again, I'm not a lawyer or anything, I don't know. They might have to text you and put it in writing that you're going to get fined if you do not go to the mandatory minicamp, right? So, yes, obviously, players understand to a certain degree that, hey, if you don't go to this, and this, you'll get fined, you'll lose some money. I think they might have to put it in writing. And now, normally, they would probably bring the player in, talk to them, and say, hey, listen, if you don't go to this, we understand you're going through situations right now with the contract, but if you don't go to this, you'll get fined. I think that's why Zach texted him, was because he had to put it in writing so that he can't come back and say, well, you're fining me, you didn't tell me. So that's what I'm assuming is why he texted him that. Could he have broke the ice a little bit better? Absolutely. Could he have said, hey, listen, like this article said, hey, you go into any funny movies, any, fan vacations, really kind of broke the ice with small talk and then said, hey, listen, I hate to do this, man, but I got to tell you, if you don't go, you're going to get fined. At least have a back and forth conversation. Again, we don't know to the extent of Trey's relationship with Zach. Trey says the relationship is good. Trey says the relationship's fine. But we don't know how they communicate, right? You might text your buddy and have a really back and forth funny conversation about something. But then you might text your other buddy and you barely text the person, right? And you barely go back and forth. So everyone has a different communication/relationship with someone, especially when it comes to your employer and you're the employee. So maybe they're not on that type of basics, Maybe Trey and Zach are not on the basics of going back and forth and talking about that kind of stuff. You never know. So Hendrickson responded by telling reporters he has no intentions of playing under the current deal. ESPN colleague Jeremy Fowler has reported Hendrickson is willing to sit out the regular season if no resolution. And again, that's why, in the end, they're hoping he just kind of gets over it and, plays no matter what. It was going to be hard for the Bengals to replace Hendrickson in March, but possibly has become downright impossible following free agency in the draft. He created an unprecedented 26 sacks for himself and his teammates a year ago. Pure ESPN metrics, 11.5 more than any other player. The data for this metric dates back to 2017, and no player has topped 20 sacks created in a season. You know what? We're going to trade Trey Hendrickson for TJ Watt. That would be horrendous because in the end, first off, I love Trey. But second off, I would not want the Steelers to get Trey Hendrickson. Maybe we could do like a package deal where we trade Trey somewhere else in the NFC, but then we somehow package together the TJ Watt with another player. Like an NFC team trades their quarterback to the Steelers. We trade Trey to the NFC team. Steelers trade their guy to us. I know that would never happen, but you know what? I'm thinking the hypothetical here. Yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, I don't think Trey's going to just let this go. I don't think Trey's just going to eventually accept, it is what it is and play. So, I don't know how this situation ends, I try my best to give my thoughts and opinions when it comes to these situations, but this is such a volatile situation. And I said this before in videos, and I'll say it again. This situation is very bad because of a couple factors. One is Trey needs to fire his agent. Please fire your agent, Trey. This would be the best. Fire your agent because your agent signed you to a 2-year or 1-year extension, and 6 months later you said you didn't want that extension. So clearly your agent's not doing what he's supposed to do. Second off, Trey's involving him, his wife, his family in this, negotiation thing. You never want to do that. This is a cutthroat business. At the end of the day, you never want to bring your wife and kids into this type of situation because that's why you hire an agent. You hire an agent to represent you. You as a player should not involve yourself or your family. What happens is your agent represents you, gets the best deal possible for you, comes back to you and says, here's the deal. You tell your agent, no, I want this or this, I want that, and here's my mindset of what I want. Agent goes back, works out deal, right? You don't involve yourself because the team's job is to tell you you are worth less than you think you're worth. That is not something, it's a very emotional thing. You can't add emotion to contract negotiations. It's going to end in failure every time. It creates this toxic environment, and that's where we are now. Is that, again, nothing when it comes to contract negotiations should ever turn personal. Because it's business. It's business at the end of the day. It's a cutthroat business. It's back and forth, yes, but it's a business transaction. So, last thing I'll say is I think Trey should hire Roxy, who is Jamar Chase's agent, and now T. Higgins' agent, thankfully, this offseason. And I think that's what should happen. I think they should hire Roxy. I think Roxy could get this deal done by the start of the season, and I think we could all be happy in the end. But at the same time, again, we have to remember this is a huge part of this upcoming season. If Trey doesn't play, we are in a very bad spot. And it sucks because it's like this year was going to be the year. We start off, really fast. We start off great and just back and forth. But it is what it is. I don't think he'll forget about it and move on or whatever. I think the Bengals, I don't know. Their front office, I don't think the front office is going to cave. I really don't. But peace out.